Chapter 1. The first days of his reign. The morning sun bathed King's Rock in a golden light, and the entire jungle seemed to breathe a sigh of relief after the battles and intrigues of the past few months. Liam, the young king, looked down upon his kingdom, aware of the burden he now bore. He was not just a ruler, but a protector, a judge, and a symbol of hope for all the creatures of the jungle. Although he had been crowned with honor, his reign was far from without its challenges. The old rivalries between species, conflicts over territory, and the distrust between predators and herbivores still existed. Liam knew that to maintain peace, he had to act wisely, and the first days of his reign, Liam convened a council of animals, attended by representatives of each species, and in the middle of the circle formed at the foot of King's Rock, gathered the old elephant Baro, who spoke for his herd, the giraffe Mola, who represented herbivores, but also leaders of predators such as the Suri cheetah and the tenebrous eagle. "The jungle is our home," Liam said firmly. "We can't always live in fear of each other. I want to establish rules together that will help us live in balance." The discussions were heated. The cheetahs complained that they didn't have enough hunting territories, the zebras feared attacks, and the monkeys accused the hyenas of stealing their food. But, with patience and wisdom, Lion King Liam managed to make everyone understand that only united can they survive. A difficult moment was the meeting with the hyena Nyra. Although she had recognized Liam as king, many of the hyenas were still hesitant to follow him. Her sister Zira had disappeared after Zorak's defeat, but Liam knew that hyenas without a purpose were dangerous. "You won the fight, Liam, but the loyalty of hyenas is not easily won," Nyra told him. "I do not want blind obedience," Liam replied. "I want you to have a place in the jungle, but without fighting and betrayal. If you follow the rules, you will have a future with us." Nyra accepted cautiously, and Liam decided to give her a chance. It seemed that the jungle was beginning to know peace, but the tranquility was short-lived. One evening, Coco the parrot arrived restlessly, flapping its wings. "Liam, rumor has it that a lion raised in captivity has escaped from the land of men. He is heading towards the jungle, and we do not know with what intentions." Lion King Liam and his friends realized that the first days of peace were just the beginning of a new fight. Liam had understood from the first day that being a king did not mean just to command, but to be an example for all. Every morning, he came down from King's Rock and walked through the jungle, listening to the needs of the animals. The elephants complained that the rivers were shrinking. The antelopes were afraid to drink from the lakes they shared with the crocodiles, and the monkeys claimed that the leopards were still secretly hunting them. To resolve these conflicts, Liam divided the jungle into safe areas for each species and instituted strict laws. The crocodiles were not allowed to attack the common watering holes, and the predators were only allowed to hunt in the designated territories. He took a lot of patience and the intervention of his friends for these rules to be accepted. Coco, the clever parrot, flew over the jungle and brought news of the new rules being followed. Zuzu, the young baboon, helped in the negotiations between the species, using his wit and humor to convince the most distrustful. Nala, the devoted lioness, was always by Liam's side, ready to intervene if any predator refused to follow the new laws. Although his efforts seemed to bring peace, not everyone was happy with the changes in the jungle. Among the most skeptical were the hyenas. Although Nyra had agreed to collaborate with Liam, many of her sisters and brothers viewed the new order with suspicion. "Lion King Liam wants to make us weak," growled a young hyena. "Why should we follow his rules, when we can take whatever we want?" One night, a pack of hyenas attacked a family of monkeys, stealing their food and destroying their dens. When Liam heard about this attack, he went to confront the hyenas himself. "I will not allow anyone to destroy the peace of the jungle," he thundered in the powerful voice of a true king. The hyenas snickered, but when the lioness Nala and a few cheetahs joined the king, they understood that Liam was not joking. Under Nyra's stern gaze, the pack retreated. "Do not tolerate such acts anymore," Nyra the hyena told Liam. "If you want the hyenas to truly respect you, you have to show them that you are more than just a lion with beautiful words." Liam knew that Nyra was right. You had to be more than a gentle leader, you had to be strong and show that the law of the jungle could not be broken without consequences. While Liam tried to keep the peace, a new rumor began to circulate among the animals. The parrot Coco, who often flew over the lands of the people, had come with disturbing news. A strong and angry lion, raised by humans, escaped from a cage. "They say he is huge and ruthless." and he is coming towards the jungle. The young baboon Zuzu started. A lion raised by humans? What could he want here? Liam's face darkened. His father's story came back to him, and he had fought a lion from the lands of men. If this new stranger was as dangerous as this, the entire jungle was in danger. We must find out who he is and what he is doing here, said the king. We cannot allow a stranger to threaten the balance we have just built. Thus, the first days of Liam's reign, which seemed to bring hope and unity, were now turning into a new fight for survival. After the conflict with the hyenas, Liam understood that in order to impose his rule, he needed strong and loyal allies. Although his friends, the parrot Coco, the young baboon Zuzu and the lioness Nyra were always by his side, Lion King Liam knew that he needed the support of the most respected animals in the jungle. Thus, he convened a great council of the wise, formed by the old elephant Kanu, the shaman monkey Uru, the gorilla Goro and the old antelope Nyra. These were the ones who had watched over the balance of the jungle for generations and whose words carried weight. King Liam, Kanu said in his deep voice, the jungle needs a wise, but also strong leader. You have taken the first step, bringing peace between the species. But know that the real test is only now beginning. And specifically, Liam asked, looking at each of the wise elders in turn. There are still many dangers lurking in the jungle, said the gorilla Goro. Hyenas are not the only threat. Over the mountains beyond the river, it is said that a mysterious lion, raised by humans, who escaped from captivity, lives. He was seen approaching our borders. Liam flinched. It was the second time he had heard about that lion. That same evening, Liam retreated to King's Rock, thinking about what he had heard. History seemed to repeat itself. Another lion raised by humans threatened the jungle, just as it had happened in his father's time. What if he came to provoke me? He wondered to himself. What if he wants to avenge his father's defeat? The lioness Nyra approached him, feeling the anxiety that was red on her face. You are worried, she said softly. But you need not fear. You have friends, you have allies. You are not alone. Liam smiled at her, but he knew that it was his responsibility to defend the jungle, no matter what happened. And the following days, the news about the mysterious lion became more and more alarming. The animals saw him in the savannah, and the parrot Coco, who was flying over distant territories, reported that the stranger was heading towards the heart of the jungle. In addition, the hyenas seemed more agitated than ever. Nyra, Nyra's cunning sister, had gathered her pack and was organizing secret meetings. Liam didn't trust them and felt that the hyenas were waiting for the right moment to act. One evening, as the moon shone above the jungle, a terrifying howl echoed in the distance. Liam raised his head. It was a sound he had never heard before. Powerful, threatening. He has arrived, said Coco the parrot, landing next to him. The lion raised by humans entered the jungle. Liam took a deep breath. The first days of his reign had brought not only hope and unity, but also a new danger. The fight for the jungle was far from over. Liam knew that in order to maintain peace, he had to win the trust of all the animals. Together with the lioness Nyra, the parrot Coco and the young baboon Zuzu, he set off on a journey through the jungle to talk to the different species and convince them that his reign would be a just one. First, they headed to the shadow swamps, where the water buffalo and hippos lived. For a long time, they considered themselves neglected and refused to get involved in the affairs of the jungle. When Liam arrived at them, the old hippo Baku looked at him with suspicion. What do you want from us, king of the jungle? Baku growled. We do not interfere in the struggles of others. Liam approached respectfully. I want to offer you protection and a seat at the decision-making table. The jungle does not belong to a single species. Without you, without your strength, we are not whole. Baku mumbled thoughtfully. If you truly respect us, then we will be on your side. This was Liam's first victory, but he knew he had much to do. The next step was to visit the Golden Plains, where the elephants and giraffes lived. The elephants, led by Kanu, were already his allies, but Liam also wanted the support of the giraffes, who usually remained neutral in the conflicts of the jungle. Makai, the wise woman of the giraffes, greeted him with a gentle smile. I admire you, young king, but giraffes do not fight. I do not ask you to fight, Liam said. But the jungle needs you. With your height, you can see dangers from a great distance. You can be the eyes of the kingdom. Makai agreed. If the jungle is in danger, we will send messengers to let you know. While Liam consolidated his alliances, the dangers grew. The foreign lion was approaching, the hyenas were becoming bolder, and the jungle was on the verge of a new confrontation. One night, the young baboon Zuzu, the parrot Coco, and the lioness Nyra came rushing to the king's rock. "Liam, you must come quickly," Zuzu shouted. A stranger appeared at the edge of the jungle. Liam stood up, ready to defend his kingdom. The first days of his reign had not been easy at all, but he knew that the real trials were just beginning. Liam, accompanied by the parrot Coco, the baboon Zuzu, and the lioness Nyra, hurried towards the edge of the jungle. Strange smell hung in the air, and the sounds of the birds were disturbed, a sign that something unusual was happening. Arriving at the foot of a rocky hill, they saw the silhouette of a powerful lion, with dark fur and cold eyes. Around him, several hyenas were bustling around. "Who are you and what are you doing in our jungle?" Liam asked in a firm voice. The unknown lion stepped forward, letting his claws crunch on the stones. "My name is Sefu and I come from the land of men," he said in a serious voice. "I heard you've become king, and I want to see if you're worthy of the title." Coco the parrot flew nervously above them. "Have you come to cause trouble?" "We don't want to fight." The boss laughed mockingly. "There's no need for a fight now, but you should know, Liam, that weak kings don't live long in the jungle. Maybe one day, we'll meet again, and then we'll see who the real king is." Then the boss and the hyenas retreated into the darkness, leaving Liam with a heavy feeling. The next day, Liam convened a great council of the animals at King's Rock. Elephants, giraffes, buffaloes, monkeys, and many other species came to hear what the new king had to say. "Our jungle has always been a place of balance," said Liam. "But we know that dangers lurk around every corner. I do not want wars, but I will not let anyone threaten us either. That is why we must unite more than ever." Makai, the old giraffe, nodded her head. "You are wise, young king. You have inherited Akari's courage, but also the clear mind of a true leader." After the council, Liam retired with his friends. "The boss will not leave so easily," said the lioness Nyra worriedly. "Then we must be prepared," replied Liam. "But not with violence. We must learn to know the jungle and those who live in it. Perhaps among our old rivals are future allies." Thus, Liam decided to seek a surprising alliance. He directed his steps towards the hyena territory, hoping to find unexpected support. But was he ready to trust his old enemies? Liam knew that to keep peace in the jungle, he had to be more than a strong king. He had to be a wise leader. From the early hours of the morning, he began to visit the territories of each species, listening to their needs and fears. Together with the parrot Coco, the young baboon Zuzu, and the lioness Nyra, he set off on a journey through the dense jungle, dry savannas and rivers that snaked through the rocks. The first step towards peace was the most difficult: to meet the hyenas, who had long been the lion's feared enemies. Liam decided to go personally to their territory, a place far away, where the air was drier and the vegetation was sparser. There he met Baku, an old and wise male, who had once been the pack's advisor. "Not many lions come willingly to this territory," Baku said in a harsh voice. "I did not come looking for conflict," Liam replied. "I want to end the old wars. The jungle is big, and we all have a place in it. But for that we must learn to live together." The younger hyenas grumbled in discontent, but Baku motioned them to be quiet. "You spoke like a true king. I'll tell you a secret, Liam. The hyenas were not always the enemies of the lions. Once, before the power struggles began, we were allies. Maybe it's time to change things." Back at King's Rock, Liam realized that he could not bring peace with words alone. He needed concrete actions. He began by implementing new rules. No species was allowed to attack another species without reason. Rivers and water areas were to be divided equally among all animals. The Jungle Council was to meet periodically, so that all animals had a say in important decisions. This was no easy task. Some predators did not welcome the changes Liam had brought, and Sefu, the lion from the land of men, still posed a threat. But Liam knew that the true power of a king lay not only in his fangs and claws, but in his ability to unite his kingdom. Looking west from King's Rock, Liam understood that his reign was only beginning. Dangers lurked in the shadows, but as long as he had his friends and the wisdom he had inherited from Akari, he would become a true legend of the jungle. Liam felt the burden of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders. Although he had been raised in the wild, far from royal protocol. Now he had to live up to his name and prove that he was a leader worthy of Akari's legacy. That is why, every day, alongside the parrot Coco, the young baboon Zuzu, and the lioness Nyra, walked among the animals, listening to their problems and looking for solutions to maintain the balance of the jungle. One of the first obstacles Liam had to overcome was the tension between herbivores and carnivores. The zebras, antelopes, and giraffes feared that the new king would not be able to keep the predators under control, while the lions, cheetahs, and leopards feared that his rules would make it difficult for them to survive. To avoid conflict, Liam organized a meeting on the edge of the Sun Meadow, where each species had the opportunity to voice their grievances. "If you want to take away our freedom to hunt, you condemn us to hunger," protested a young leopard. "If you don't protect us, the predators will attack us mercilessly," replied a frightened antelope. Liam the lion looked at the crowd of animals gathered. The tension was almost palpable, and a single mistake could turn the meeting into a chaotic fight. "I will not take away anyone's right to live," he said in a firm voice. "But we can find a balance. Predators must hunt only to survive, and herbivores will have protection areas where their young will be safe. No one should kill more than they need." There were moments of silence, but then Baku, the old male hyena, nodded in agreement. "It's a fair rule," he said, "as long as everyone respects it." Over time, the animals began to adapt to the new rules, and the jungle seemed more peaceful than it had been in years. But the peace was deceptive. One evening, when the moon was just beginning to light the sky, an old eagle descended to King's Rock. "King Liam," he said in a voice faint with fatigue, "a shadow from the past has returned to the edge of the jungle. A foreign lion, one who bears hatred for you and for all of Akari's heritage." Coco the parrot and Zuzu the young baboon widened their eyes. "Liam," whispered Nyra. Lion King Liam looked up at the dark sky and knew that the real challenges were just beginning. Liam remained silent after the eagle's warning. He looked at the darkness of the jungle, feeling an invisible shadow begin to weigh on his reign. It had only been a few weeks since his coronation, and the fragile balance he was trying to maintain was already threatened. The next morning, Lion King Liam and his friends met under the royal baobab to discuss the eagle's message. "Who could this foreign lion be?" asked Zuzu the baboon, kneading his small hands. "Maybe someone from the land of men," murmured Coco, smoothing her colorful feathers. "I've heard stories about lions raised in captivity who hate the jungle and only want to control it." Lioness Nyra tensed her muscles and scanned her surroundings. "No matter who it is, we must be prepared. The jungle cannot bear another war." At that moment, a sound of heavy footsteps echoed from behind them. An imposing figure stepped out of the shadows, an old buffalo, with thick horns and piercing eyes. "I know who the eagle was talking about," he said, slowly approaching. Liam raised an eyebrow. "Who are you?" "My name is Konu. I have lived for a long time in the grasslands at the edge of the jungle. And I have seen with my own eyes the return of Zorak." All of Liam's friends froze. "Zorak? But he was defeated," exclaimed the young baboon Zuzu. The buffalo shook his head. "He was only driven away. But he never disappeared. He gathered forces, gathered traitors to his side, and now he prepares to claim what he believes is rightfully his." Liam understood that the danger was real and imminent. He could not allow Zorak to overturn the peace he was trying to build. "We must gather allies," he said firmly. "Zorak will try to attack us when we least expect it." And the following days, Liam and his friends traveled throughout the jungle, warning all the animals about the approaching danger. The zebras, buffaloes, giraffes, even hyenas loyal to King Akari, promised to defend the jungle. But Liam knew that Zorak was no ordinary enemy, and that, sooner or later, he would have to face him face to face. His adventure as king had just begun, but already destiny was testing him. Liam felt the burden of the crown heavier than he had ever imagined. The peace was fragile, and the shadows of the past threatened to destroy his work. However, he was not going to let fear stop him. After the warning of the buffalo Konu, Liam and his friends set off on a journey through all corners of the jungle. He had to gain the trust of each species and ensure the loyalty of those who were still undecided. The first stop was in the bamboo forests, where the elephant clan lived. There, the old matriarch, Nyra, greeted him with her wisdom. "Liam, being a king is not just about wearing a crown, but knowing when to listen and when to act. The elephants will stand up for you, but be careful, the shadows of the past always return." Further away in the hidden swamps, The crocodiles watched skeptically. Their leader, an old crocodile named Sargos, fixed him with his cold eyes. The jungle is always changing its leaders. Why should we care about a lion, when the waters provide everything we need? Liam knew he could not force them to join him. In return, he offered them a non-aggression pact. As long as the crocodiles respected the balance of the jungle, he would not impose rules on them. One by one, alliances were formed. The zebras and antelopes promised to alert the kingdom to any sign of danger. The monkeys, led by the orangutan Goro, pledged to be the eyes and ears of the jungle. But Liam knew that there were also traitors. One evening, the young baboon Zuzu hurried back to the royal rock, his eyes full of fear. "Liam, you have to come quickly. I heard the hyenas whispering Zorak's name. They are gathering at the edge of the savannah." King Liam and the lioness Nyra looked at each other worriedly. If the hyenas hesitated to offer him loyalty, it meant that war was closer than they had thought. With each passing day, Liam understood better that being king meant not only ruling, but always being ready to fight for the peace of the jungle. And this fight was only just beginning. King Liam woke up at dawn, thinking that every choice he made during this period would mark the future of the jungle for generations to come. T was a troubled night, full of frightening dreams, but also clear visions of what was to come. He needed safety and, above all, the trust of all the inhabitants of the jungle. That morning, with determined steps, King Liam headed towards the edge of the jungle, where the forest met the vast savannah. There, at the gathering place of the animals, were all the species that still opposed the idea of a king of the jungle. Some of them believed that the jungle should not be ruled by a single animal, but by a gathering of leaders, each dominating a specific area. Also, others were extremely reluctant to the idea of a lion as king, because of the old conflicts between the cats and other species. "We cannot let a single species dominate the jungle, great King Liam," said Nyra, a young but cunning hyena who still harbored resentment towards the old lion dynasties. "Why should you rule us all? What makes you so special?" King Liam raised his head, looking at her eyes full of defiance. "I am not special, young hyena Nyra. I am just a symbol of a new era, in which every species will have a voice. A king is not the one who sits on the throne and gives orders, but the one who listens and protects." Nyra the hyena remained silent for a moment. She did not want war, but she did not believe in the idea of a king who would impose his orders on the entire jungle. But she understood what Liam meant. A jungle where everyone had equal rights. A place where balance had to be maintained through mutual respect. In those days, King Liam, with the help of his friends, began to build a network of alliances. The parrot Coco and the baboon Zuzu, with their ability to communicate with many of the creatures, managed to mediate between species that seemed irreconcilable. The lioness Nyra, the queen of the lions, had remained by his side every step of the way, being his closest support. She had taught him that a true leader cannot reign in isolation, but must be able to appreciate and protect every being that lives under his umbrella. One day, King Liam decided to visit the gorilla clan, one of the wisest and most influential groups in the jungle. There Moko, Akari's old friend, offered his help, but only on one condition: to demonstrate that he was capable of facing the challenges of the jungle not only through strength, but also through wisdom and patience. "Great King Liam, it will not be easy to gain everyone's trust," Moko told him, looking deep into the young lion's eyes. "You must be prepared for the worst. There are many species that will never accept a king, and those who are in the shadows will try to bring you down." "I am not afraid of challenges," Liam answered firmly. "But I will listen to every voice, because only in this way can we build a true kingdom." As the days passed, suspicion and unrest settled deeper in the heart of the jungle. Zora, a monkey from a distant species, had come with serious news. The hyenas, especially the young Nyra and her sister Nyra, had not given up the idea of challenging Liam's rule. Also Zorak, the rebel lion from the land of men, was gathering his forces to face the jungle again, wanting to defeat any idea of unity under the leadership of a single king. "Liam, be careful. If you truly want to be the king of the jungle, you must prepare for a much greater battle than you expected," Moko said, as she offered him one last piece of advice. Despite the difficulties and increasing tensions, Liam knew he had no choice but to carry on with his mission. Together with his friends, he had sworn to protect the jungle and all the beings that lived in it, but also to bring a true balance between species. He had also promised himself that he would never seek to impose his rule by force, but only through the trust earned over time. It was a lesson learned from the great stories of his ancestors. First of all, we must understand that together we are stronger, Liam thought. I will be the king of the jungle, and this kingdom will be everyone's. So, the first days of Liam's reign had not been easy, but he remained determined and ready to face the challenges that would come. He knew that his path as king was not just about conquering the jungle, but also about learning and evolving together with every being in his kingdom. As King Liam began to establish his authority and put his new principles into practice, he began to feel that the responsibility of being king was not just about imposing order, but also about gathering, uniting and understanding the diverse needs of the jungle. Each species had its own traditions, customs and rhythms of life, and Liam understood that only by respecting them would he be able to bring true peace to his kingdom. One morning, at the edge of the forest, Liam met a group of elephants, led by Zemba, an old female and wise. Although elephants were a respected and powerful species, in these changing times, they were reluctant to accept a king who did not come from a lion family, as Akari, Liam's grandfather, had been. King Akari was a great leader to us all, Zemba told him, his voice calm but still filled with reverence. But you, Liam, are young, and experience cannot be replaced. You must prove that you can bring the same protection and wisdom as your grandfather. Liam understood the elephants' concerns and respected their point of view. I know I don't have the experience my grandfather had, but I have learned from the mistakes of the past and I understand what it truly means to lead. I will not make the mistakes of those who led with fear and pride. I will seek to build a stronger jungle together, where every being, great or small, is respected. Zemba looked deep into Liam's eyes and, after a moment of silence, said, "We will see, Liam. But never forget that the true king does not rule from a position of power, but from a heart full of wisdom and compassion." After the discussion with the elephants, Liam and his friends continued to travel through the jungle, learning about each species and finding solutions to the conflicts that arose between them. Coco the parrot, Zuzu the baboon, and Nyra the lioness were by his side, offering him advice and helping him better understand how to negotiate with various groups, from monkeys and zebras to tigers and panthers. Zuzu, with her ability to communicate with many of the jungle's smaller creatures, was also essential in gathering information and preventing impending conflicts. But as Liam's reign took shape, a dark shadow began to form on the horizon. The hyenas, led by the young hyena Nyra and her sister Nyra, continued to refuse any form of centralized leadership and opposed the idea of accepting Liam as king, just as their mothers had done. Older, unresolved conflicts threatened to reveal darker sides of the jungle. "We can't let a lion rule the jungle," Nyra shouted, raising her head proudly as she gathered her pack. "This is no place for a king alone. Even if he is Akari's grandson, we have the right to be free." Despite these challenges, Liam remained determined. "We will face these conflicts with patience and wisdom. I will not let the jungle become a place of hatred and fear. We must work together." Over the next few days, Liam and his friends traveled through the jungle, meeting diverse groups of animals, from the smallest insects to the largest creatures of the forest. Each encounter was an opportunity to demonstrate his principles of justice and protection, but also a lesson in how to be a wiser leader. One evening, as he sat by a flowing stream, contemplating the future of the jungle, King Liam remembered the words of his grandfather Akari. "A true king seeks not war but peace. But when peace is threatened, he will fight not for himself, but for the good of all." Liam knew that the challenges had only just begun and that he could not face them all alone, so, together with his friends and with the wisdom he had gathered it along the journey, he was preparing for what was to come, with a single goal: to unite the jungle and bring about a reign based on justice, balance and mutual respect. Thus, the first days of Liam's reign were full of lessons and moments of doubt, but also of hope for the future. Each step he took in the jungle deepened his understanding of the true meaning of power and responsibility. As Liam faced his new challenges, he noticed how his confidence in himself began to grow. Although many of the jungle animals were still unsure of him, more and more species joined his cause, seeing his determination and wisdom. He was no longer just a young lion, the grandson of a great king, but a true leader, capable of taking into account the needs of all beings in his kingdom. However, despite his progress, tensions did not disappear. After meeting the elephants, Liam decided to convene a general assembly of all species to discuss how each of them could contribute to the common good. The place chosen for the meeting was a large clearing, known as the Circle of Light, a sacred place in the jungle where everyone had access, without having to worry about the territories of other species. Here animals, large and small, gathered in the past to resolve conflicts and celebrate moments of peace. As the meeting began, Liam stood in front of the gathering, with his friends by his side. The parrot Coco sat on his back, offering him the moral support he needed. The baboon Zuzu and the lioness Nyra, each with their own distinct character, completed the image of a king who was never alone in the face of challenges. Dear inhabitants of the jungle, Liam began in a firm but warm voice. I was chosen to be king, not because I am more powerful than you, but because I am one of you. And because in each of you, just like in me, there is a desire for peace, justice and balance. Together we will make the jungle a place where every being can live freely, without fear and without unnecessary conflicts. Liam spoke to them about the importance of unity and how different species must learn to work together, not just for survival, but for prosperity. It was a revolutionary idea for many of them, who were used to the constant struggle for territory, food, and resources. So, from the first days of his reign, Liam found himself having to fight not only with enemies in the jungle's political business, but also with the prejudices that had existed for generations between different species. Among the most skeptical were the hyenas, especially the young hyena Nyra and her sister Nyra, who had no interest in accepting the authority of a young lion, whom they believed could not understand their interests and would not be able to truly face the dangers of the jungle. Liam, you have not yet seen what the jungle really means, said Nyra, making her way to the front of the gathering. You are a young lion, but you will never understand what it means to fight for survival if you do not face the reality of these territories. You cannot rule a jungle that you only know from your grandfather's stories. The hyenas have learned firsthand what it means to live without the protection of a king. But Liam was not discouraged. Looking calmly at Nyra, he replied, I know that the challenges are great and that it is not easy to bring about change, but I also know that the power of a king lies not only in the thrill of battle, but also in the ability to gather under one goal all the beings that make up the jungle. We will learn to live in balance, to support each other, without leaving anyone behind. Through his words, Liam sought to convince not only those who listened to him, but also himself that he had been chosen for a reason. Despite the fears and doubts that still troubled him, he was determined to build a jungle where respect and understanding would prevail. However, although his speech was received with applause from many animals, from one corner of the gathering, the shadow hunters of the jungle gathered, looking at him with distrust. It was obvious that the struggle for power was just beginning. Chapter 2: King Liam and Queen Nyra. After the challenging first days of his reign, Liam realized that to fulfill his vision for the jungle, he needed a trusted partner. Someone who would be with him not only in moments of triumph, but also in times of uncertainty. That being was Nyra, his childhood friend, the one who had been with him in the hardest moments and who had proven time and again that she had the courage, wisdom, and heart to lead alongside him. One clear morning, as the sun rose over the jungle and warmed the golden grass, Liam called a new gathering at King's Rock. The animals had gathered curiously, sensing that this was going to be a special moment. Coco, the parrot, flew in circles above the crowd, chirping excitedly, and Zuzu, the baby baboon, had found a place on a rock, carefully watching each movement. Liam stepped forward, Nyra at his side, and looked at the assembled crowd seriously. As I promised you, I will rule this jungle with wisdom and justice, he began. But no being can carry the burden of a kingdom alone. Today, I have decided to take Nyra with me, not just as an advisor, but as the queen of this jungle. A murmur went through the crowd, and then the first applause came from the elephants and zebras. Even some of the predators, initially skeptical, realized that Nyra was a good choice. But not everyone was delighted, and the shadows, the hyenas Nyra and Nyra, watched in disbelief. If the jungle is now ruled by 2 lions, then it will become a kingdom of only lions, Nyra whispered venomously. We must make sure they don't impose their will on us alone. But Liam and Nyra had no selfish intentions. Their first act as king and queen was to organize a council made up of representatives of each species, so that the entire jungle would be involved in important decisions. That evening, under the starry sky, Liam and Nyra looked out over the jungle from King's Rock. Are you ready for this responsibility? Liam asked, looking at her with affection. As long as we are together, nothing is too hard, Nyra replied with a smile. Their reign had begun, but the dangers in the shadows had not disappeared. It would be a continuous struggle for balance, for peace, and for the future of the jungle. After the official announcement of their joint reign, Liam and Nyra dedicated themselves to strengthening the jungle as a fair kingdom for all animals. Their first action was to organize the Animal Council, a council formed by representatives of each species, so that every voice would be heard. Baku the elephant, the wise one of the herds, was appointed protector of the kingdom, taking care of the weak. Goro, the old orangutan who lived in the Forbidden Temple, was chosen as a royal advisor, thanks to his wisdom. Coco the parrot, always attentive to the whispers of the jungle, was named the king's messenger, and Zuzu, the tireless baboon, became the personal courier of the sovereigns. However, while the jungle enjoyed these changes, the shadows of the plot crept among the vines and among the watchful eyes of the council. Nyra and Zira, the cunning hyenas, were not satisfied with the reign of the lions. They knew that if Liam and Nyra managed to unite all the species, the power of the hyenas would be diminished, or they began to weave plans, gathering around them the disgruntled predators and the animals who believed that Liam was not a true king, but only a heir to a throne won by luck on a dark night. Nyra and Zira secretly met with a dangerous ally, Zorak, the exiled lion who once challenged Akari, Liam's grandfather. He had regained his strength and was ready to return to take revenge. Liam is young, inexperienced. But together, we can overthrow him, Zorak whispered, his eyes shining menacingly in the moonlight. We must act cunningly, Zira added. If we attack head-on, the jungle will be against us. But if we lure him into a trap, then the throne will be ours. That same night, at King's Rock, Liam and Nyra watched the jungle bathed in the silver of the moon. I feel a storm coming, Nyra said, with a worried look. Liam nodded. I feel the same way. But as long as we are united, nothing can bring us down. But danger was approaching, and the jungle was about to be shaken by a battle that could change everything. In the depths of the jungle, hidden from the eyes of Liam's vigilant allies, Nyra and Zira continued their plot. They knew that to overthrow the king of the jungle, they needed a strong ally, a fierce lion, capable of facing Liam in battle. Thus, they headed to the edge of the savannah, where Sefu reigned, a cruel and ruthless lion, known for his boundless ambition. Sefu had lived in exile, far from the kingdom of Akari, having been banished by the great king for his attempts to seize territories through force and fear. Tall, with a mane as black as night and eyes as piercing as blades, Sefu licked his wounds of the past, waiting for the right moment to take revenge on the descendants. The hyenas found him in his den, under the shade of a giant baobab tree, where a group of rebel lions had sworn allegiance to him.The. The sight of Nyra and Zira, Sefu looked up, a sadistic grin spreading across his face. What brings cunning hyenas to the den of an exiled lion? He asked in a grave voice. A proposal, Sefu. The cunning hyena Zira took a step forward. A throne for you. Ultimate power over the jungle. But for that, we must overthrow Liam. Sefu tensed his muscles. Liam? The lion cub who was born on the throne? A weak king, raised in the shadow of his grandfather? Exactly. Nyra approached, her eyes sparkling with cunning. But we cannot act chaotically. We must lure him into a trap. We will take him by surprise, as a true predator would. The chief ran his tongue over his fangs and looked up at the dark sky. Then we will wait for the right moment. And when it comes, Liam will have nowhere to run. That night, a cold wind swept through the jungle. Liam, at King's Rock, felt a growing unease. His instinct told him that danger lurked in the shadows. But he did not know that the hyenas Nyra, Zira and Sefu were spreading their net, ready to catch him in their claws. Liam looked from King's Rock at the endless expanse of the jungle, dimly lit by the pale rays of the moon. He felt that something was wrong. A deep uneasiness gnawed at his thoughts, as if an unseen shadow was approaching his kingdom. Nyra, always attentive to the changes in his behavior, slowly approached. What is troubling you, Liam? She asked, touching his mane with her warm muzzle. I feel something is brewing, something dangerous. His answer was vague, but his eyes betrayed concern. The jungle is quiet, but too quiet. That's not a good sign. Nyra looked up at the stars, searching for an answer where only the old kings of the jungle could still watch. Then we must be ready. We must take care of each other. That moment, Coco and Zuzu ran towards them, agitated. Liam. Bad news. Coco chirped, flying in circles above him. I saw the hyenas swarming at the edge of the territory. They seemed to be preparing for something. Liam clenched his teeth. He couldn't leave his kingdom to the pack. Gather the council. We must find out what they are up to in the depths of the forest. Sefu gathered his allies. He was flanked by Zira and Nyra, and in front of him stood a pack of hyenas and rebel lions. Tomorrow at sunrise, Liam will be ours, he said hoarsely. We will lure him into an ambush and eliminate him before he can retaliate. The jungle will have a new king. The hyenas grunted in delight, and Sefu rose on his hind legs, announcing the attack. But what he did not know was that, above, in the darkness of the leaves, a small red parrot was listening to his plans. Coco, sprinting and brave, had not wasted a word. I must warn Liam, he whispered, flapping his wings and flying into the night. In a short time, he reached King's Rock panting. Liam, it's a trap. The boss is waiting for you at the edge of the forest, with hyenas and treacherous lions. They want to take you by surprise. Liam frowned and looked at Queen Nyra, the baboon Zuzu and the parrot Coco. Then we will take them by surprise. The king of the jungle was not going to let himself be defeated without a fight. Liam gathered his allies in the pale moonlight. The loyal lions, the agile baboons and the skilled birds lined up around him, ready to fight. We will not wait for them to attack us, we will act first, he said, determined. The boss thinks we are naive, but we know how to defend our jungle. Coco sat on Zuzu's shoulder, who was trembling with emotion. What is your plan, Liam? We can't go straight into the trap, said Zuzu. We will not go there alone, Queen Nyra replied with a confident smile. We will use the jungle to our advantage. Before dawn, Liam and his group hid on the side paths of the forest. The hyenas and traitorous lions, led by Sefu, waited silently, impatient to see the figure of the king descending the path. It is almost time, Zira hissed, her eyes shining with malice. But instead of seeing a single lion, the shadows of the forest suddenly moved. From the trees, baboons threw stones, and birds screamed deafeningly. From the bushes, the lions loyal to Liam threw themselves at the traitors. Attack! Liam roared, jumping into the middle of the fight. The hyenas collapsed under the force of the lions, and Sefu found himself face to face with the king. Did you think you could fool me so easily? Liam said, growling. Sefu grinned, then rushed at him. But Liam was faster, stronger. With a kick of his paw, he knocked him to the ground. Surrender, Sefu. The kingdom does not belong to you. The traitorous lion stood up slowly, looking around. The hyenas had fled, and his allies had been defeated. He had no escape. You defeated me, but the jungle will never be at peace. He spat, then retreated into the forest. Liam looked at his friends. The world was safe for now. But the jungle had many challenges ahead. Nyra approached him and whispered, Now, you are truly the king of the jungle. The silence that had fallen after Sefu's departure was suddenly shattered by a loud sound, which shook the ground and made the leaves of the trees tremble. A deafening trumpet blast echoed across the jungle, followed by the heavy tramp of footsteps that made the ground vibrate. From the shadows of the trees, a huge figure appeared, a massive elephant with long tusks and a gentle but determined gaze. He was Bumbo, Liam's old friend. Behind him, an imposing herd of elephants appeared, forming a protective wall around King's Rock. Liam smiled broadly and stepped forward, greeting him respectfully. Bumbo, old friend. Bumbo raised his trunk and slowly lowered it, lightly touching Liam's forehead, a salute of loyalty and respect. The king of the jungle needs strong allies, and we elephants never forget who is worthy of following, Bumbo replied, his deep voice ringing like thunder. We have come to be with you, Liam. From now on, King's Rock will be defended by us too. The elephants behind him trumpeted in agreement, echoing throughout the jungle. Their powerful sound spread to the farthest corners of the forest, a clear warning to the king's enemies. From now on, Liam was not only the king of the lions, but also the ally of the elephants, the most powerful guardians of the jungle. Queen Nyra, the parrot Coco and the baboon Zuzu watched the scene with admiration. With such an alliance, no one will dare to threaten the peace of the jungle again, said the parrot Coco, flapping his wings enthusiastically. But the ever-wary Zuzu baboon crossed his arms and muttered, The boss and the hyenas won't give up that easily. They'll find another way to get revenge. Liam nodded, looking at Bumbo. And that's exactly why we need to be prepared. Bumbo nodded. Then let's organize ourselves. The elephants will patrol the area, and you, the lions, will maintain order among the other animals. Together, we will preserve the balance of the jungle. With a new reliable ally, Liam's reign was becoming stronger than ever. But the jungle still hid many dangers. After the alliance between Liam and the elephants led by Bumbo, the jungle seemed safer than ever. The huge herd constantly patrolled the surroundings of the King's Rock, and the animals felt that they lived under the protection of a just and powerful king. But deep in the jungle, in the dense shadows of the trees, a plot was being hatched. Far from the King's Rock, in a cave hidden among the sharp rocks, Sefu was licking his wounds. The traitorous lion was angry and humiliated. He had been defeated by Liam, and now he and the hyenas were forced to retreat. But the hatred in his eyes had not disappeared. Beside him, Nyra and Zira, the two cunning hyenas, were muttering plans for revenge. "We must take down Liam," Zira spat. "But we cannot attack now, not with the elephants on his side." The boss clenched his fangs and looked at the map drawn on the dusty ground of the cave. "We must not attack directly. We must weaken him from within to spread fear to divide his allies." The cunning hyena Nyra narrowed her eyes, thinking, if the animals begin to fear Liam, if the elephants begin to see him as a weak king, they will lose their trust. And then we will strike. The hyena Zira laughed. "And I know exactly who can help us." The boss looked up. "Who?" Zira chuckled. "Kuro, the boa constrictor. He is cunning, ruthless, and hates lions. If we can convince him, he can scare the elephants, create chaos among the jungle animals. And once Liam is weakened, we will come and take everything." The boss smiled for the first time since his defeat. "Then let's go to Kuro. The jungle will burn, and King Liam will fall." Meanwhile, at King's Rock, Liam was watching the sunset from the high cliff. Queen Nala approached him and gently touched his shoulder with her snout. "Is something bothering you, Liam?" "I don't know," he sighed. "I feel that the danger has not passed. Sefu will not stop so easily. We must be prepared." In the distance, in the dark jungle, Kuro's eyes shone menacingly. The plague was about to begin. Deep in the heart of the jungle, where sunlight barely penetrated through the dense foliage, Kuro, the giant boa constrictor, lay coiled on a thick branch, waiting. His glossy skin, covered in twisted patterns, moved gently, and his yellow eyes sparkled in the darkness. Soon as Zira the hyena, her sister Nyra, and Sefu the lion approached, the snake raised its head with a slow and menacing movement. "I was waiting for you," Kuro hissed. "What brought you to my humble abode?" Zira took a step forward, avoiding looking too long into the snake's hypnotic eyes. "We want to overthrow Liam. We need your help." Kuro laughed, a cold and slippery sound. "Liam, your righteous king. How funny. What makes me think that helping you will be of any use?" The boss dug his claws into the ground, impatient. "If you help us, you will get your share. You will be feared by the entire jungle. No one will chase you away, no one will consider you a simple predator anymore. You will be the nightmare of animals." Kuro's eyes sparkled. The idea of spreading terror in the jungle appealed to him. "Very well," he hissed. "But I have my own methods. I don't need to attack openly, we just need to wait for the right moment." Liam could not find peace. He felt that an unseen danger was hovering in the air, but he couldn't say exactly where it could be coming from. Coco, his faithful parrot, landed next to him, flapping his colorful wings. "Liam, I've been flying over the grasslands and I've heard rumors. The animals are starting to get scared. There's talk of an evil coming from the jungle." "What kind of evil?" Liam asked, worried. "Nobody knows for sure. But the elephants in Bumbo's herd have started to get restless. They say a monster lurks in the night. Some think it's just a story, others are sure it's real." Liam clenched his jaw. "We need to find out the truth. Let's go to Bumbo." When Liam and his friends arrived at the elephant camp, they found a disturbing scene. Several baby elephants were trembling in fear next to their mothers, and Bumbo had a serious expression on his face. "What happened?" asked Liam. Bumbo sighed. "Last night, one of our cubs disappeared. He left no trace. No one heard anything. And it's not the first. For several nights, animals have been disappearing." "Who could it be?" Bumbo lowered his head. "Some say it's Kuro, the great snake. But no one has seen him. Just shadows moving in the dark, Liam gritted his teeth. If Kuro was really behind these disappearances, it means someone had set him up. And he knew exactly who. Boss, Zira, Nyra, they didn't stop. This is a trap. They want to sow fear. Then what do we do? Asked Coco. Liam looked into the distance, where the jungle stretched like a green ocean. We are preparing. If it is a war they want, they will have it. But we will fight with honor. That night, the shadows moved again in the jungle. And the danger was closer than ever. The wind blew gently over King's Rock, and the sun cast golden shadows over the endless meadows. After the battles and trials they had been through, King Liam and Queen Nyra felt that it was time to look to the future. Together, they decided that the time had come for the kingdom to have an heir, a cub who would continue the wise reign and maintain peace in the jungle. One morning, when the dawn light colored the sky in a palette of orange and pink, Liam and Nyra sat on King's Rock and looked at the jungle that was teeming with life. Do you think we are ready? Nyra asked gently. Liam brought his head closer to hers, looking into her hopeful eyes. Yes, my love. The jungle needs a future. And we need someone to teach it what courage, loyalty, and justice mean. That day, Liam called Bumbo, his old friend and protector of the kingdom. The great elephant raised his trunk to the sky and trumpeted loudly, the news spreading quickly throughout the jungle. The king and queen will have an heir. The echo of the news spread from the herds of zebras to the playful monkeys in the trees, and the birds began to sing more cheerfully than ever. Coco, the loyal parrot, was the first to fly in to congratulate them. Wonderful news. There will be a great celebration in the jungle. He chirped happily. While many animals gathered at King's Rock to celebrate the news, deep in the jungle, those who hated Liam and Nyra were plotting again in the shadows. Zira, the cunning hyena, licked her fangs and grinned wickedly. So, the jungle rejoices, but I am not at all. If their heir is born, then Liam's reign will be stronger than ever. We must stop him before it is too late. Beside her, Sefu, the traitorous lion, was sharpening his claws on a tree trunk. A coronation, a family, an heir. It all sounds so perfect. But how well guarded will the queen be in these months? Perhaps we should find out. Zira, the cunning hyena, laughed bitterly. That's exactly what I was thinking too. Come on, let's follow every move from King's Rock. While the jungle sang with joy, a new danger was preparing in the shadows. The days passed, and the news that King Liam and Queen Nyra were expecting an heir brought joy to the hearts of the loyal animals. Bumbo and his herd of elephants patrolled the surroundings, and Coco the parrot and Zuzu the baboon watched over the kingdom from above. Everything seemed peaceful, but deep in the jungle, a dangerous plot was being hatched. On a moonless night, Zira, the cunning hyena, and Sefu, the treacherous lion, met in a hidden cave, far from the king's eyes. Time passes, and soon the heir will be born. If we wait too long, Liam will be stronger than ever. Zira whispered, growling softly. The chief ran her claws over a rock, whining impatiently. Then we must act soon. We must attack Liam when he is vulnerable. If we manage to eliminate him before the cub is born, the jungle will be left without a strong leader. The cunning hyena Zira wagged her tail, thinking. We can't attack the King's Rock directly, it is too well guarded. But, what if we lure the king into a trap? We could lure him into the drylands, where no one can save him. The chief smiled, finally feeling that their plan was starting to take shape. And how do you plan to get him there? The cunning hyena Zira grinned, showing her sharp fangs. We will give Liam a reason he cannot ignore. We will use what she loves most, the queen. The next morning, as Queen Nyra walked by King's Rock, under the watchful eye of her guards, a young hyena, with shaggy fur, came running out of the jungle, panting and trembling. King Liam. King Liam. You must come quickly. The queen is in danger. Liam, who was discussing the safety of the kingdom with Bumbo, suddenly turned to the frightened hyena. What did you say? Where is Nyra? She was attacked by Sefu and taken to the drylands. You must come quickly. Without thinking, Liam got up and started running, not noticing the sly grin hiding in the hyena's eyes. But Coco the parrot, who was on a nearby branch, noticed something strange. The hyena smelled strongly of swamp, a sign that it had come from the hyena camp. The parrot quickly flew towards Zuzu and Bumbo, shouting, It's a trap. Liam has been tricked. At that moment, the king had already reached the heart of the drylands, and from the shadows, The lion Sefu and the hyena Nyra watched him, ready to strike. King Liam walked with firm steps through the drylands, heading towards the place where he believed Nyra was being held captive. The air was dry and hot, and the ground cracked deeply under his feet. Around him everything seemed silent, almost eerily still. But with each step he took, he felt that something was wrong, that a feeling of unease deepened in his chest. Suddenly, a gust of dry wind brought a strange smell, the smell of the hyena, but also of other creatures hidden around. King Liam stopped suddenly, his eyes narrowed and his ears pricked. Stepping cautiously, he felt the danger surrounding him. "Nyra, where are you?" he shouted, but only the echo answered him. Meanwhile, Coco the parrot and Zuzu the baboon were running after him, accompanied by Bumbo and his herd of elephants. "Liam, be careful," Coco shouted, flying above the king's head. "It's a trap. You've been fooled." Coco's words penetrated deep into Liam's mind. He was too late to turn back, but now he was aware that not only Nyra was in danger, it was the entire jungle. That moment, a loud grunt echoed in front of him, and from the dark shadows came Sefu, along with Nyra. "Welcome, King Liam," Sefu said with a cold smile. "Did you think you could face the jungle alone? You have truly underestimated our strength." Liam turned quickly, preparing for battle, but just as quickly the alert hyena Nyra appeared, smiling sarcastically. "You came too late, Liam. Nyra will be nothing more than a shadow of your past." But before King Liam could respond or face his enemies, a loud trumpet was heard in the distance, the unmistakable sound of Bumbo. Then, an entire herd of elephants appeared beyond the horizon. The ground trembled under their weight, and Bumbo, at the head, trumpeted loudly, making the air vibrate. "Here I am, Liam," shouted Bumbo, accompanied by his elephants. "You will not be left to fight alone." Immediately, the herd of elephants rushed at the hyenas and the lion, starting to surround them. The cunning hyena Nyra and the lion Sefu were charging at each other with fury, but there were far too many of them. In front of them, Liam raised his head, looking at them with unwavering determination. "Now I understand what it means to have a family and a whole jungle of friends to protect you," he said in a loud voice. "No one will break our bond." The furious fight was going on around them, and the hyenas and the lion Sefu were trying to oppose the much larger forces. But Bumbo, with his wisdom, knew that to win this battle, they had to not only fight, they had to protect what was important. In a moment of bravery, Liam rushed into the middle of the hyena pack, and with a quick movement, he struck Nyra and Sefu with the strength and agility of a true king of the jungle. Each blow was calculated and determined. In the end, with the help of the elephants and his friends, the lion Sefu and the hyena Nyra fled.